This is your Daily 10. Calculator Video 5. Make sure you pause the video and attempt the questions before you watch the solutions. Here's your first question. So for this question it's saying that a straight line has equation y equals 6 minus 2x. Now we know that straight lines are always in the form y equals mx plus c, where m, the number in front of the x, tells us the gradient and c tells us the y-intercept. So this question is wanting us to circle the gradient of the line. So if the number in front of the x is the gradient, just in front of this x here we've got the number minus 2, so the gradient is minus 2. Here's your next question. So for this question we've got a frequency diagram. Now it says at the top 50 people took the test, hence why we've got 50 here. It says that the people that did this test predicted how they would do. So we've then got 30 people predicted that they would pass. So for prediction, the first line, pass was 30, and therefore if 30 said they would pass, there must be 20 that said fail, because these two must add up to make the number here. The next line says then 36 people actually did pass. Now this number 36 represents both this circle here and this one here. It is the combined numbers in those two. It says of these 36, so for these two sections here, 3 times as many predicted pass as predicted fail. Now we don't know either of these numbers, but it does say 3 times as many need to go in here than in here. So what we actually get is, if we don't know that number, but if we call it x as something we can try and solve, we know that 3 times as many, so 3 times that, need to go into here. Well, if that's x, 3 times that is 3x. So what we actually get as a little side note then is that these two together, so the 3x and the x together, they need to combine to make 36. Well, if that's the case, 3x and x actually equals 4x, so 4x equals 36. From that we can just solve 36 divided by 4 is 9. So from that little extra bit of working we've said that x must be equal to 9. So we can put 9 into that bit there. 3x, so 3 times 9, is 27. Just as a little check, these two needed to add together to make 36. 27 plus 9 is 36. We've then got these two other sections to do. With 30 people are split here, 27 and 3 would add together to make this 30. And then 20 people are in this section, 9, and therefore 11 would have to go in there. Here's your next question. Here it's wanting us to use some information to do with circles to find which of the lines drawn on there is a diameter. Now, as soon as I see circles, there's a triangle drawn inside the circle, and it's mentioning diameters, I'm thinking this is something to do with circle theorems. One of the circle theorems says that if you've got a triangle drawn in a semicircle, so if you have a diameter and then a triangle drawn in that semicircle, the angle up at the top must be 90 degrees, must be a right angle. So what we need to do is try and find out, firstly, which of these two triangles has a right angle in it. So if we start with this one here, B, E and F, 95 and 5 make 100. So this angle up here is 80. So straight away it can't be anything to do with that triangle. Let's just check with this one. 10 and 80 make 90. Therefore this angle here would have to be 90 to make it a triangle. Now if this is the right angle, that tells me that AD must be a diameter. So we would circle AD. Here's your final question for this video. So with this question, clearly it's later on in the exam and it's going to involve quite a bit of working, because what we need to try and do is find the total surface area of this object here. So if you imagine this is a vase that's been turned upside down, so you've got a hole here that goes into this little cone section, and the larger cone section shows how thick the glass must be. Now it's nicely given us up at the top here one of the formulas of the formula that we need to use for a large chunk of this question. The curved surface area, so the section that goes all the way around, that area of a cone is represented by pi RL, where R is the radius and L is this, the slanted height of our cone. So what we need to do overall is try and work out each of the different elements of this to work out the surface area. So if you imagine this was an upturned glass that you put a drink into, we need to try and imagine how much space there is making up the entire glass. Or in other words, if you had to paint the entire glass, how much paint would you need? Or something like that. So we've got three main sections. The large curved section is the first thing we're going to do. So this is the bit that goes all the way around this large cone. If we're using pi RL, as it says in the top of the question, we need to do pi times the radius of the large cone, or the outer cone, is 10, times by the slanted height, which is 25. If you type that into your calculator, that comes out as 785.398 1, and then the number continues. I'm just going to shorten it down a little bit. Don't round too much at that point, because that could lead to a rounding error later on in the question. For the small curve, or the small cone, I'm going to use the exact same formula, so pi RL, but this time we're using the information for the inner cone, or the small cone. So it's pi times by the radius, which it says here is 5, times by the slanted height, which it says here is 12.5. Again, if you type that into your calculator, that comes out as 196.3495. There's more numbers after that, but I'm just rounding it just slightly, or truncating it slightly, just to make it easy to work with. Now the final section, this is the one that I think most people would normally forget, is this section here. It's going to almost look a little bit like a donut. Okay, so what this will look like, if you looked at the bottom of the glass, you've got the large cone, the bottom of the large cone, but then the smaller cone, that would have been chopped away. So all I would need to work out is the area of that section there. Now in order to do that, we're going to do the area of a circle. One for the big circle, one for the little circle. So pi times large radius was 10. Take away pi times small radius, that's 5. Now you can type all that in two chunks or in one go, but if you do it all in one go, that will work it out, and that gives us 235.6194. What we now need to do, that's the outside of the cone, the inner bit of the cone, and the bottom. We need to add all of these together, and it's normally a good idea to show yourself adding all these bits together. When we've done that, it will give us an answer of 1,217.367.